Hello everybody and welcome to That's Football. Will Nagelsmann be Chelsea's next manager? With the dust settling on a chaotic Premier League managerial sack race, we can now assess on what could be next for Chelsea. Graham Potter sacked yesterday, Brendan Rodgers sacked yesterday, and obviously Spurs looking for a manager, Leicester looking for a manager, and Chelsea looking for a manager. How's it all going to pan out? Well, let's start with Chelsea. Look, the rights and wrongs of Potter being sacked, I think ultimately the fan base of Chelsea Football Club have the final say, and whether they wanted him at the start or not, whether it was a mistake or not, he's gone. The question is, what do Chelsea do next? I still think and stand by the fact that Chelsea Football Club have spent nearly £500 million since the new owners have come in, and they've sacked two managers, and they've spent £20 million getting Potter out of Brighton and probably spent another 20-30 million sacking him. The club's chaotic, and for somebody, what they need is stability. They need a manager that can come in, utilise what they've got, give him a striker and build it out for a couple of years. And what you need is a manager that the fans can get behind and believe in, because whatever people think about Potter, and I still think he's a really good coach, I looked at it and went, that's an interesting project to survey without it impacting on me, because I wanted Chelsea to do well under Potter and I wanted Potter to do well. I'd never have took him at Man United. I've always been consistent about that, which is why I was very interested in the Chelsea project. But look, Chelsea have got to go for a manager next that has the fan base from the start, that speaks in the right way. I mean, I heard a Bangalore going on about, Potter wasn't angry enough at the end of the game. Look, you don't need to be a bloody jack-in-a-box. You don't have to be a faker. But what you do need to do, you don't have to be a shouter. You know, some managers are very quiet and reserved. Ancelotti can be like that. You demand respect. Chelsea need a manager that demands respect. Whether it's a Mourinho, a Conte of the past, they need that. And I think Nagelsmann fits the bill. Now, the interesting thing about Nagelsmann is he will not take the Chelsea job tomorrow. He won't take it till the summer, which means he's going to assess his situation. And there could be other jobs that he could go for in the summer. Let's be honest. Liverpool will probably still have Jurgen Klopp next year. But football's so weird at the moment. There could be a Real Madrid job. There could be a Liverpool job. Who knows? So Nagelsmann is clearly going to sit there and go, all right, Spurs want me. Chelsea want me. These are good jobs in a big league with big projects. But I think he's going to wait until the summer and see what happens. I spoke about Spurs and Nagelsmann when Conte went. I think he'd be brilliant for Spurs. I think he'd be brilliant for Chelsea as well. Here is a manager that, as a Man United fan, when we had Solskjaer, if somebody said you can get Nagelsmann from Leipzig, I'd have said, let's get swimming. Let's go and fetch him because he's that good. Still a very young manager, but probably fits Spurs better than Chelsea in a way, because Spurs don't have the expectation of winning trophies. And really, you could go there, have patience, play good football, and build it out over the next 5 years. Chelsea do need a project. They need exactly what Spurs want. But do Chelsea Football Club traditionally like a project? No. I think their fans crave that, but I don't think their ownership do. I'd be very scared of that ownership. I mean, basically what you've had at the weekend is everyone's being told that Potter's going to stay. They react to the fans and sack him. That's great if you're a fan of Chelsea, but it's also a bad thing, because the next manager will have to be thinking, look, it only takes a bit of, the fans turning on me and the club will listen. And the club, look, I like Chelsea Football Club. I don't like your ownership at the moment. I think they've got a lot to learn and they need to learn quickly. They can learn by getting Nagelsmann in, giving him a striker and doing what you should have done with Potter, or you shouldn't have appointed him in the first place, which is actually giving him a pre-season and giving him time. Next season for Chelsea could be really difficult. Man City won't go anywhere. Arsenal won't go anywhere. You've got Newcastle, if they're in the Champions League, will stay there. You've got Man United who want to stay there. Well, that's your top four without thinking about Liverpool's renaissance, Chelsea, and whoever else wants in. So it will be a challenging season for Chelsea next season. And there is no guarantee that Chelsea will just start winning games consistently next season. There is a lot of work to be done there. And I think Chelsea fans get that, but I think the ownership needs to get that and stick with it. I mean, the amount of money they've spent is preposterous. This will be bad news for Tottenham. Of course it will. If you're choosing between Tottenham and Chelsea, financially Chelsea are going to sort you out anyway, and the squad's better. I'd look at that Chelsea job. I'd be very concerned about turning my back on anybody in that football club. But as long as you walk around in a circle all the time, I think you'll be fine. Because I look at that Chelsea side and I think, look, João Felix will probably go in the summer anyway, so that solves a problem that I'd like to keep. But, the Mudricks of this world, the Badashiels, the Enzo Fernandez, these players are interesting. I look at Chelsea, I want a world-class goalkeeper, I want another midfielder, and I want striking options. I want somebody who can put the ball in the back of the net. Because Potter's gone now, but the legacy of Potter is, I think if they'd had a striker, they wouldn't have lost as many games as they did. That needs to happen. I think Osimhen will end up at Chelsea. I've said that all along. And I think Nagelsmann's the man to get. But it's not in the bag. He's the favourite to go to Chelsea now. And I think Chelsea have this long tradition of recruiting really exciting foreign coaches, whether it's Mourinho back in the early noughties from Porto, or even people like Sarri, Conte, Ancelotti. They've got a really good reputation of doing this. Tuchel as well. So, look, Nagelsmann fits like a glove. But I wouldn't say it's in the bag yet, because I think Nagelsmann, if he waits till the summer, he may well look at something else. He may well look at a Real Madrid or something like that, if that came up. But I think Chelsea's the right job for Nagelsmann. It's just whether they're going to be patient, and they have to be patient. So beyond Nagelsmann, I don't think Pochettino's the right guy. I really don't. Luis Enrique would be very interesting, but he seems like quite an outsider for that. Zidane doesn't seem to get linked to jobs anymore. But that's the level Chelsea have got to go for. And then if they do get Nagelsmann, you start looking at Spurs and you go, well, where do Spurs go? Spurs are being linked to Brendan Rodgers quite high. I mean, it depends what side of the camp you are with Spurs. Are you a realist that Spurs are going to struggle to get anywhere near the top four over the next few years? Or are you somebody that thinks Spurs are a top four side and should be challenging for it? I personally think Spurs, Nagelsmann fits into we should be challenging for top four. I think Brendan Rodgers is a realistic appointment where your ownership and everything will probably be quite comfortable with that. Whether your fans would be or not, I don't know. It feels like Spurs won't get Nagelsmann, and they will end up with someone like a Brendan Rodgers or a Pochettino returning. So we'll have to wait and see. But it's a big job for Spurs. And obviously, if Harry Kane moves on in the summer, which many are predicting, then Spurs' future is very uncertain. And maybe a bit of stability from Brendan Rodgers and a bit of reality might be the route they go down. I probably would prefer Pochettino over Brendan Rodgers if I was a Spurs fan, but we'll see. And look, Leicester are worth a mention. I hope Graham Potter goes and takes that job, because I think he's a good coach. But let's be honest, he doesn't need to. He's absolutely loaded for the rest of his life now because of Chelsea. Tens of £1 million landing in his bank. Obviously, he's not going to be happy about that, but I think Leicester might be a good fit. It's just whether you want to go straight back into football or have a break. He may well want to have a break. He may well be looking at the summer, and maybe Leicester will go caretaker. In fact, they're all probably going to do that. Spurs are doing it. Chelsea are going to have to do it, and I think Leicester might do it as well. But the Chelsea one's so interesting because I still think that Chelsea side has got so much potential this season. They can't get top four, but they could. They're massive underdogs, but they could have given Real Madrid a bit of a game if they could just sort something out. And it feels a little bit weird to me to sack Potter, go with an interim, and then wait for Nagelsmann in the summer. I like what Bayern did. I felt that Nagelsmann getting sacked was surprising, but they brought Tuchel straight in, and they're trying to rescue the season now with these big games against Man City. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Chelsea, especially we're going to do the watch along tomorrow night against Liverpool. Are they, waving the white flag for the Champions League game against Real Madrid? Quite literally. We'll have to wait and see. But look, at this moment, it looks like Chelsea and Nagelsmann would be a good fit. I suppose, Chelsea will spend the money to get the job done, and at some point, I suppose that I don't rate that ownership of Chelsea at the moment. I'd be very worried about it if I was a Chelsea fan. But they're spending so much money. The thing is, if you keep spending money, at some point you're going to land on the right thing. I think it's embarrassing what they've done in their first year in charge. It's chaotic. It's contradictory, it's weak, it's cowardly, sacking 2 managers in 7 months and spending £500 million on them. Some of the signings, it's just a mess. What they need to do is get a proper director of football in and a proper manager in, and just manage the club, let them manage the club, and you put the money in. Maybe third time lucky for Todd Boehly, we'll see. Get your comments in below. What are your thoughts? Chelsea's next manager, who it should be and why, Spurs, and also Leicester if you want. and what your thoughts are on the current situation. Thanks everyone for watching. Smash a like and make sure you subscribe.